today's video, I'll be covering how to update a supplier record. Firstly, from our dashboard, we want to go ahead on the navigation bar to the purchase module and locate suppliers down on this list here. This will show us a list of all the suppliers within the system. So I'm just going to make some changes against my BlueHub supplier down here. So I'll click onto that and that will bring up our supplier file, which contains all the details we have against them currently. Any field that has an asterisk means that it is mandatory to fill out. I will now run through what all of these fields mean. Firstly, the name. This will be the name of our supplier. This name is what will show on any of the documents printed from the system. For instance, the purchase order, the purchase invoice, this is the name that will show. Currency, this is the supplier's currency. This will ensure all purchase order raised against the supplier will display in both your base currency and theirs. You have your payment terms. This will be the agreement of your payment with your supplier, so the due dates will populate on the invoice for you automatically based on this term that is set. The accounts payable, this will hold the value of all invoices due to be paid on your balance sheet. The tax rule, this should be set to the most common tax rule you use for your supplier, and then that can be changed on a per order basis if needs to be. However, anything set against the products will overwrite this anyway. Your status, active and deprecated. Deprecated means that it's an archive within the system, so that supplier will no longer show on any list for you. Default carrier. This is where you can set which carrier is your preferred shipping carrier against your supplier. Tax number, this is where you can store their tax number. This would just be for audit purposes. Discount, this is a percentage. This is going to be anything you've agreed with your supplier. For instance, if a supplier gives you 10% on every order you make, you'd put that discount in there. Additional attribute set, this is shown throughout the system. So this is for when you want custom fields. So if you wanted any extra information against your supplier, which you cannot put in any of the box provided, you would use an attribute set to add those in there, and you get up to 10 custom fields in there. Comments, this is any comments you have to put against your supplier. Any comments that are entered in this box here will show on the purchase order header every time you do a purchase order for this supplier. If we go down slightly here, this is where you can store any addresses for your supplier. You can put the type in here, billing, business and shipping, and you can also set defaults as well. You can also store contacts against your supplier. This will be points of contact at the supplier business, where you can just add their name, their job title, their email details and their phone number. You can also default them. If a contact is default, they'll be pulled onto the purchase order automatically when the supplier is entered. You can also include an email, so if you're emailing out any documents from the system, they'll be included in that as well. Default templates, this is where if you have any supplier specific templates, you would then make those in the back end and allocate them to your supplier here. You also can add any attachments against your supplier here. It's just drag and drop, or you can upload them as well. On this supplier, let's say I wanted to make a change now, I would then go ahead and say we're going to put the default carrier for BlueHub to be DPD, and then if we hit the save up there, any purchase orders from now on, the default carrier will be DPD.